There are certain crops you almost never see promoted, subsidized, or sold in bulk at your local garden center, and that is not an accident. The entire modern food system is built around a small handful of commodity crops, plants that can be patented, licensed, and sold back to you as seed every single season. Anything that grows itself, reseeds itself, or keeps producing year after year without you ever needing to buy from anyone again does not fit that business model. It does not mean these crops are hidden or illegal. It means they are simply never marketed to you because there is no profit in a plant that makes your family independent. Once you understand that a plant's popularity in stores often has more to do with shelf life and shipping logistics than with how well it actually feeds a family, this whole list starts to make sense. Today, I'm going to walk you through 12 of these crops, the ones that quietly give a family real food security without ever needing a seed catalog, a subscription, or a trip back to the store. We are not going deep into growing instructions for each one. This is a catalog, a starting list, so you know exactly what to look for and why it matters. Let's get into it. Number 1. Jerusalem artichokes, also called sunchokes. This is a perennial, meaning you plant it once and it comes back every single year without replanting. A single patch can produce pounds of starchy, calorie-dense tubers, and once established, it is nearly impossible to get rid of, even if you tried, which for a survival garden is exactly the point. It spreads on its own, it survives neglect, and it gives your family a reliable carbohydrate source that never requires you to buy seed again. Most nurseries simply do not stock it because a plant nobody has to repurchase does not move product year after year. Number 2. Amaranth. This plant produces thousands of tiny seeds per head, similar in use to quinoa, packed with protein your family needs when meat becomes hard to source. It is drought tolerant, it grows in poor soil, and once it goes to seed, it reseeds itself for the following year without any help from you. Commercial agriculture largely ignores it because it does not fit neatly into industrial harvesting equipment, which is exactly why it has survived as a forgotten staple crop for thousands of years. Number 3. Purslane. Most people pull this out of their garden as a weed without realizing it is one of the most nutrient-dense plants you can eat, containing more omega-3 fatty acids than almost any other leafy green. It grows in cracks in the sidewalk, it grows in poor soil, and it reseeds itself aggressively. A family that learns to recognize purslane will never again see it as something to throw away. Number 4. Malabar spinach. Unlike regular spinach, this is a heat-loving climbing vine that keeps producing all summer long, exactly when cooler weather greens give up. It thrives in the exact conditions that stress out most commercial leafy greens, which is why you will never see it in a grocery store, but it will keep your family in fresh greens through the hottest months of the year. Number 5. Moringa. This tree is sometimes called the miracle tree for a reason, with leaves that pack more protein, calcium, and vitamin A than almost any common vegetable. Once established, a moringa tree grows fast, tolerates poor soil, and keeps producing leaves you can harvest continuously. In warmer climates, a single tree can become one of the most efficient nutrition sources a family has access to, and it is almost never sold or promoted commercially because it does not fit into the supermarket produce aisle. Number 6. Comfrey. This is not primarily a food crop for humans, but every serious survival gardener should know it because comfrey pulls nutrients up from deep in the soil, and its leaves can be used to feed livestock or composted to build healthier soil for everything else you grow. It comes back every year on its own, and a single planting can support your entire garden's soil health indefinitely without buying a single bag of fertilizer. Number 7. Stinging nettle. Yes, the plant that stings you when you touch it raw is one of the most nutrient-dense wild greens available, rich in iron and vitamins. And once cooked or dried, the sting disappears completely. It grows aggressively on its own, often in places nobody planted it, and a family that learns to harvest it safely gains access to a free, self-sustaining source of greens that requires no cultivation at all. Number 8. Chickpeas. Unlike many commercial legumes bred purely for industrial yield, open-pollinated chickpea varieties are relatively easy to save seed from year after year, giving your family a genuine protein source that does not depend on buying new seed annually. They store for years when dried properly, and a single growing season can produce enough for months of meals. Number 9. Quinoa. Much like amaranth, this ancient grain produces enormous amounts of protein-rich seed from a relatively small growing space. And open-pollinated heirloom varieties allow you to save your own seed indefinitely. It survives poor soil and drought better than most commercial grain crops, which is exactly why it was a staple survival food for civilizations in harsh mountain climates long before it ever showed up on a health food store shelf. Number 10. Buckwheat. This is technically not a true grain, but it functions like one, growing fast, tolerating poor soil, and producing a nutrient-dense seed your family can grind into flour. It also improves the soil it grows in, making it useful even beyond its own harvest. And heirloom varieties allow you to save seed from your own crop every single year without ever depending on a commercial seed supplier again. Number 11. Sunflowers, specifically open-pollinated varieties grown for seed. Beyond the calories and healthy fats in the seeds themselves, sunflowers can be pressed for oil, which is one of the most overlooked pieces of true food independence. Most families think about growing food, but forget that cooking oil is just as critical and just as vulnerable to supply chain disruption as anything else on this list. Number 12. Elderberry. This shrub produces berries that are not just a food source, but a genuine medicinal resource, long used to support the immune system during cold and flu season. Once established, it comes back every year with almost no maintenance, and a single mature bush can produce enough berries to preserve into syrup or jam that lasts your family through an entire winter. Because it cannot be shipped or stored the way commercial fruit is, it will likely never appear as a mainstream grocery item, which only makes it more valuable to grow yourself. Now here is the pattern I want you to notice across all 12 of these crops. Every single one of them shares a few key traits. They reseed themselves or come back year after year as perennials. They tolerate poor soil and neglect far better than the commercial crops that dominate grocery store shelves. And critically, none of them require your family to buy anything from anyone ever again once they are established. That last part is not a coincidence. It is exactly why you will never see these crops advertised, subsidized, or promoted the way corn, soy, and wheat are. There is no recurring revenue in a plant that only needs to be purchased once. This does not mean commercial crops are useless, or that you should abandon growing potatoes, tomatoes, and the other staples we have covered in past videos. It means these 12 crops should sit alongside those staples as your family's insurance policy, the layer of your garden that keeps producing even if seed supply chains, fertilizer availability, or grocery store shelves become unreliable. A family that plants even 3 or 4 of these crops this season is quietly building a food system that does not depend on anyone else's permission to keep functioning. Start with whichever of these fits your climate and your space. Jerusalem artichokes and comfrey. If you have a spare corner, you do not mind them taking over. Purslane and stinging nettle if you want to start recognizing what might already be growing in your yard for free. Moringa or elderberry if your goal is combining food with genuine medicinal value. Whatever you choose, the goal is the same. Crops that keep producing without asking your permission or your money, year after year, whether the system around you holds steady or not. None of this requires a big property or a perfect climate. It requires picking a few corners of the space you already have and letting these plants do what they were always built to do, which is survive with or without you. If this list opened your eyes to what your garden could actually be doing for your family, share it with someone who still thinks self-reliance means buying more seed packets every spring. And if you want to go deeper into any of these 12 crops, including exactly how to plant, harvest, and preserve them, let me know in the comments which one you want covered first. Until then, stay ready, stay growing, and keep your family fed.